development update. Today we will have a bit shorter session than usual, and we are planning the session for 30 minutes, and we will have a dedicated Q&A as usual at the end. If you have any questions, please use a Q or a question prefix in the live chat below. Without further ado, let's start with the platform team. Sam, would you
Yep.
kick us off? Let me find
Yep.
the sharing button and I will share the screen as well.
Sure. Yeah, so, we're pretty heavy on trying to get version 2.0, Evo 2.0 out as quick as possible. I think, yeah, so most of us were working on tokens. I do think at the very beginning, Lucas, you worked on state sync a day or two. Not completely sure, but I think that's correct. I worked slightly on some fixes for iOS, maybe, you know, over the last 2 weeks, maybe a day's worth of work there. Um, Paul was working a lot on the keyword search contract. So we're going to talk about this. We're also going to talk about when 2.0, and let's get right into it. And starting with Tender Dash. Oh, we forgot to write tender dash in there too. Okay, well, Lucas.
Yeah, in terms of tender dash, not really much done, except for some maintenance. So the big one topic that is on hold is single node quorums. There was slight development here, but no real progress. And also I did some maintenance in terms of dependency updates. Also updated the binding library that is allowing us to use standard dash from Rust, which is our standard dash ABCI, where one major update was done, which is tonic library. And we also released 1.4.0 of that library, version 1.4.0 of that library. So our standard dash ABCI is released. I think the only important change is that tonic version. So basically that's it in terms of tender dash, and there's also an ongoing or on hold effort to do state sync, where some progress also was made, but rather minor. We finalized it to a state where it seems to work. So next step will be some QA and maybe improvements. But we decided to also put it on hold to just switch to the topic that is more important, and that is tokens, which are required to release 2.0. And about tokens, I think Sam, you can tell much more. Yeah.
So, yeah, the big feature or the big change in plans, is that tokens was just becoming too big. Just we have we have more state transitions in 2.0 than we have in 1.0, like more ways to interact with the system. And yeah, so when things are getting too big, it's best to take a step back and release um, release and then do another release afterwards. So to that extent, we split up the token marketplace. Token marketplace was actually going to be two parts. One was being able to purchase directly, and then the other one was be able to trade with like an actual market. Obviously, the purchase direct purchasing is about 25% of the workload as the other one. So it's the lower hanging fruit. We wanted to add this for the first version, but the marketplace will be coming in 2.1. So we're kind of splitting it out and trying to release ASAP. Token direct purchasing, what is it? It's basically you can set in your data contract, hey, this token is available for direct purchase. And then that allows people to buy it. The contract owner can either say that they themselves are the person that can set the price, or they can do it as a multi-sig group action, or they can delegate it to somebody else. But they basically say, okay, I can set the price to, let's say, buying this token is this amount of Dash, let's say $5 worth of Dash, and they set it in there, and then people basically can buy the token. You can also do a pricing schedule is what we call it, so which supports sales. So you could say, like, if you buy 2 tokens, you get 20% off. If you buy 10 tokens, you get 30% off, stuff like that. And so that's currently done, and we merged it in yesterday-ish, I think. Yeah, so that's cool. It's done. We're okay. Let's go on to the next slide. Yeah, some other things that we worked on tokens. Okay, I don't think I wrote this one, but some token and group validation, refactoring, and improvements. Oh yeah, Paul did this. Paul, you allowed the addition of new tokens and data contract update. I think that's in progress, and we're about to merge that in. I added a trailing emission, the ability to add a trailing emission to decreasing step distributions. This makes no sense when you say it, but basically, there are many types of perpetual distributions that you can set for your contract. And one of those is decreasing step. That's kind of the same type of distribution that Bitcoin has and Dash has. Uh, with Bitcoin being 50% every 4 years and Dash being 7% every year. I mean Dash Core, but you can set those with a decreasing step distribution. So those are going to be in 2.0. That's going to be in 2.0. A lot of testing happened there, like testing situations like overflows, um, uh, yeah, many types of different overflows that caused issues, and that testing was pretty important because we found some issues, some real edge cases that could have actually led to a chain halt. So it's all fixed now, and that was kind of one of the last things we had to do for the distributions. So now what we're going to do for that is we're going to remove some of the more exotic distributions, like exponential distribution, that pretty much nobody. It's kind of rare to use. There are use cases, but we're going to kind of focus on the use cases that 95% of cryptos actually use, and just go with those for 2.0, and then we'll add the other ones that are written uh, but are not very well tested. We'll add those in once testing is done. We just want to get 2.0 out. So yes, keyword search contract. Paul, you want to talk about this?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. So I spent the majority of the sprint basically integrating a new system contract. Sam kind of wrote the base of it, meaning like the actual schema of the contract, and I kind of went in and implemented it and refactored the contract a bit to make it work. So this contract is basically we okay. First, I should mention that Sam has not reviewed my PR yet, but we have discussed it. So I think how I'm gonna describe it is generally how it's gonna end up. So we're adding a field on data contracts for keywords, and you can have up to 20 keywords that are associated with your contract. And when you register a contract, these keywords automatically go into the keyword search contract as documents. And this will basically allow for people to search for contracts or tokens by keyword. And yeah, it's just will make contracts like discoverable in a human form, which is kind of something that nobody else has. So it's pretty cool. We also have document types in that contract for short description of your contract and long description. So short description is like 100 characters and long description is like 10,000. Yeah, so uh, mainly implemented that, and then I added a screen to Dash Evo tool. Uh, so once tokens are live, you'll be able to use this screen on Dash Evo tool as well. And yeah, I will demo it next week. I'm in a taxi right now, so I'll show you next week. Okay, thank you.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Yeah, some things that Ivan's not been able to join us today, but he did a great job here on moving the state transition proof generation from DAPI, which was probably one of the biggest things that platform did that was still in JavaScript, and he moved it to Drive in Rust. We actually already had that code, well, mostly written in Rust, so we just use the same code, but got rid of the JavaScript code that we had duplicated, and yeah, it was more complicated than that, but it's great that we have that done now because it really simplifies the proof generation. Another thing we did was we updated Tonic and many dependencies. When we get to a new version, we generally look at okay, well, what's happened since the previous one? And 1.8 actually was released. It's been a while, right? We really need to get 2.0 out. And well, in that time, one library in particular has been updated, and this update is very important. Uh, the previous version of Tonic, which is just a library that is used for um, servers and requests, basically like web requests and sockets and stuff like that. It had an issue that was causing problems on our light clients. So we had to patch it and we had to use a lot of hacks. Now it's all gone. It's now all clean, and it just feels so much better to have this. It was not easy to update, but once we got it updated, everything is beautiful now. And like the reason why I put that as an item is because that actually took a lot of time. Okay, so Evo 2.0, what's left? We're going to be moving some of the rare token distributions to 2.1. That basically means that, you just won't be able to register your contract with a few token distributions. We'll have to say like these token distributions are not supported in 2.0 in basic stuff, not a lot of work. Queries for direct selling, Lucas is, on that, and I think he's made a lot of progress. I think it will be done this week. Config, update, state transition support in SDK. We have to do that. It's probably the code, like the most code that we have to write in all of this. Then we have to merge in the search contract, which is ready for review, I think, right, Paul? Well, he's in his taxi,
Yes.
but yeah,
Yes.
I think it's ready for review. Merging in the fixes for distribution that I just finished basically right now today for the ones that we need. And merging in data contract update basic structure validation token fixes that Paul also wrote. And then we have our DevNet already up, waiting for this 2.0 build that we're going to be making tomorrow morning. So tomorrow. The goal is get this stuff done basically by tomorrow, push it to a DevNet tomorrow, test it on DevNet for a day, see if there's any other things, go to testnet shortly after, test it on testnet for a little bit of time, and basically release 2.0 right after Easter, which I think is next week, I
Sunday.
believe. When? Sunday?
It's
Yeah,
this,
okay, there we go.
this Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to release right before Easter anyways. And so we'll basically release at the next um yeah, right after Easter. So that's it.
Shall we move forward
Right.
with the core team?
Yeah, sounds good. So, big thing is we finally tagged 22.1.2, so that will be getting released very soon. We had kind of some feature creep for it as we found some additional bugs to fix that kept uh pushing it back, but we have finally tagged that and started building it, so that's cool. Should get released relatively soon. It is a minor upgrade, not really breaking. Um, there are some very, very specific edge cases that maybe could be considered breaking, but we deemed that no one could be using that data in a way that is useful, in a way that actually makes any sense. So potentially look at the release notes, but we really, really, really don't expect anyone to be affected by it, but there maybe is some technically, like by a very strict definition, breaking, but not that we expect could possibly be seen by anyone in like working code. So that is a little disclaimer there, but otherwise, we're continuing work towards proof of service banning via platform and extended addresses in the DML. So we have, I think I forgot to throw the PR number up for the extensible addresses, but I do think we have a PR open for that now, um, or at least like prerequisite and early stage PRs that move us towards that. So Kitty Whiskers and Constantine have been a good job working towards that. The Descriptor wallet support that is in review still, and single member egg test quorum. We had discussions with platform team in this last little bit, and I think they're making progress on it. And once they kind of confirm that integration works as they expected, we'll be able to get that merged in. Block hash caching, we did do a little bit more performance validation to make sure that it does do solid performance improvements, and it does for header sync, I believe, do about a 10 to 15% performance improvement in core, which is always nice. We are evaluating if there's any slightly better ways to do it where there is less chance to have stale cached values. Um, we don't expect the way that it's implemented, it should be totally fine, but um, currently the struct has, public members and everything like that, so it's possible that like someone could change individual values and not reset a cache, but we don't really use this structure in that way, so we're evaluating if there are ways that make sense without creating backporting headaches to mark stuff as const or make it a little bit better. But we don't want to introduce backporting headaches from that. So um, that's why that one has not quite been merged in, but progress is still being made there. We can move on to the next slide here. So backport status, just continuing towards V23 and V24 work. We can continue towards the next slide, and here's the list of PRs in the last little bit. So, kind of as expected, we're working on larger tasks right now. So, a couple of these were fixes that Sam identified in doing some stuff with iOS, and are being included in 22.1.2. But generally, Like I said, we're working on those bigger PRs, so we aren't seeing as many small PRs get merged right now. So that should be a wrap, and we can move on to mobile.
Yeah, sounds good. So on Android, had some good work on DashPay, fixing some bugs and other kind of small improvements. The transaction metadata settings is taking a little bit longer than planned. So that's still in testing. And there was a couple bugs that were found in the transaction lists, the process for updating the UI there. We did add a link to the Block Explorer. That was done both on Android and iOS. So there's a second option to Insight. And there were some startup failures for CoinJoin in some scenarios. We tightened up the security on the merchant location database. That was required before we kind of go live with Dashbend. And we had to merge in our CoinJoin related improvements to the Dashbend code. And we started the closed beta of Dashbend, which has been great so far. Had a little bit of positive feedback so far. Nothing super negative, which is great. And that's moving along well. We'll be moving into an open beta hopefully this week. I don't have a time frame just yet, but then anybody that would like to, participate can participate. Yeah, for iOS, we had to do some investigation on the efforts for getting DashSync integrated into the DashPay UI. So define that scope, integrated DashSync into Dash Wallet. That was done. The receive invitation changes for contested usernames was one of the last things really we needed to do to prepare for the DashPay MVP once all the backend code is ready, and some crash fixes on Dash Wallet, a slow balance update, and that same Block Explorer. So those actually are going to come out in a release shortly, probably this week as well, just a small point release. And there's some unhandled transactions that are causing some sync issues in certain cases. That's in progress. And then we started our first development into Dashbend. It's just showing the discount percentage for each of the merchants. And yeah, we're kind of full speed ahead now on trying to get Dashbend into iOS as we wait for DashPay. That's it on mobile.
Thank you very much, Brian. So let's move on to the questions. I see one question here. How soon can we expect the release of DashPay with invites on iOS and Android? There's also a task with Maya protocol integration in the backlog. When is it planned to return to its implementation? So it's two separate questions. Brian, do you want to address them?
Yeah, I can start with the first one on invites. So we are pretty close to being done with invites on Android. We had a couple small improvements and fixes that we had to do. It's questionable if we want to release invites on Android before iOS DashPay is ready or released. I mean, there's no reason why we can't, but it could get confusing if people have an iOS and they click on an invite and nothing happens. So it might be more kind of confusing to users if we release invites on Android without iOS. So for now, I'm holding off and planning to do them together. And I mean, invites on iOS is going to be a later version. So our MVP of iOS is going to start with just most likely non-contested usernames. And then we'll roll out contested usernames, voting, and invites, probably in that order. As far as Maya, yes, we do have some things in the background. In the backlog that we've put on hold. There was a few issues that we ran into at the time. That was a few months ago, so we'd have to reinvestigate if there's still an issue or not. But at the moment, right now, Dashbend is a priority over Maya because we want to try to keep features as aligned as possible between platforms. In my eyes, it's not on either one of them at the moment. So that's the plan.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining, giving us the questions and the comments, and see you in 2 weeks. See you later.